Welcome to the Starzology Astrology Podcast. I'm your host, Arwynne O'Neill, and today I am here again with my friend Katia.
Hello, Arwynne. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming. So today we're going to be talking about the Sun conjunct Saturn. And this is a transit that is coming up on February 28th. It'll be exact 9 degrees Pisces, and it's pretty fast-moving transit. It happens about once a year, or well, actually literally exactly once a year. So of course the Sun goes through the zodiac once a year. But Saturn moves very, very slowly, and it will actually take about 30 years to go through the entire zodiac. So it'll spend about 2.5 years in each sign, give or take sort of retrograde periods. I've got dates in the blog post that are going to show you where Saturn was for the last 80 years. So you can see where your Saturn is, and it was in Pisces last and all that stuff. So the last time it was in Pisces was actually in the early 90s. So 1993 to 96, roughly, give or take a couple of backwards periods. So some of the famous people we'll talk about later were born in the 90s or the 60s or earlier than that, depending, because it's like a 2 to 3 year transit. Okay. But anyway, Saturn conjuncts the Sun once a year, and now it's going to be at 9 degrees Pisces when they are conjunct on February 28th.
Okay.
Yeah.
And just for fun.
Yeah.
So we're in the year 2024.
Yeah.
And it's a leap year.
Yeah.
Does that change anything?
Oh, no. It just makes February a little longer.
Yeah? Okay.
Yeah.
And so for this happening once a year,
yeah,
like it's not like a little more subtle last year, and then this year it's like a little bit less subtle.
No, because it's about what happens in the solar system, and our year is basically the reason we have like a leap day or a leap year is to do with math, and it's not
to make up for.
It's to make up because we have like a certain amount of seconds and minutes, and we're trying to basically make our calendar. You know, when I say we currently, I mean, you know, in the past, like eons ago, when they created calendars, everyone's calendar has been just kind of trying to make it convenient so that we can wear watches, we can have calendars on our phones or on paper that makes sense mathematically, but that also correspond with what we're seeing in the sky. Okay. So obviously the very first calendars were like sundials and, you know, the mechanisms that would use water and whatnot to map the movements of the planets. And the modern calendars and clocks and stuff that we have are the most scientifically accurate of all time, of course, but it still has this little, you know, glitch every once in a while where we have to make up for the time with like, here's an extra day that we'll just throw in once every few more years.
So Sun conjunct Saturn in Pisces, I guess we're going to go there. But like that does not get affected by leap years. No such thing. Okay.
No. Okay. The only thing that happens leap year is some of us who are doing dry February have one extra day.
Oh, we believe in you.
I
you
know.
Can power through it.
It's funny. It's very fitting actually that this is during this transit, because this aspect is about hardworking and somber effort, and it's exactly it's a time when you will have to work very hard and you can achieve your goals that you've been working away at for a long time and prove yourself to others, but only through determined effort.
Wow. Okay,
I know.
So there's a strong desire to understand life's deeper mysteries through dry February.
Yeah, dry February, exactly. That old transit as the old disciplinary hermit. Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. On the negative side, you may find that your desire to assert your individuality, which is represented by the Sun, could be hindered or limited by the transit of Saturn. So anytime Saturn passes over the Sun or makes a hard aspect to the Sun, like if it was square or opposite, that would be it would definitely hinder your independent thinking and your desire to assert yourself. But in this particular case, since it's conjunct, it can actually sort of enhance your ability to.
Yeah, that's kind of how I'm reading it. That it's like it's disciplined. It's like it can persevere.
Yeah, exactly.
Achieving long-term goals.
It helps you to do that. And of course, it is only exact on one day, but it does reinforce that. So if you've been working hard at something, you could have a breakthrough of some kind, or you could feel like, you know, this is the day when you want to like get a jump on your taxes, or God, it's awful. Oh yeah. That stuff is supported by Saturn conjunct the Sun.
And again, like with that, some side effects of this or something negative that can come with it. Is there also lower self-esteem?
Oh, yeah. I mean, especially if you have like imposter syndrome or you haven't been working as hard as you feel like you could have. I mean, if you're doing everything you can already and you feel like there's just so much work, this might be a time where you feel like it's a little bit easier. You finally feel a little bit supported. Or if it's just not going well, it could feel even worse at this time, because it is about hard work, and hard work is hard.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And if you've got an overly critical inner voice, that's that much tougher. Yeah,
exactly.
Wow.
And that brings us to actually what it looks like in your natal chart, because this is one of those aspects that's always in every book and every website described as pretty difficult, especially in childhood. And it often has to do with like a very sort of painful level of self-awareness or pessimism or even potentially depression. And a very difficult childhood is often seen with this aspect in the natal chart. Someone who maybe had harsh disciplinarian parents or had to work very hard, regardless of whether the parents were nice. Maybe they were just very hardworking. Maybe life was just difficult. There was austerity. Maybe their parents were very conservative, or maybe they had to go to work at an early age and join the workforce and begin to contribute to the household or take care of younger siblings. They often can be very withdrawn or serious or even melancholy individuals, very emotionally sort of subdued. And especially in Pisces, we would definitely see more of that melancholy side come out, especially like that depressive tendency or that introversion.
Yeah. Are those the same folks that would struggle with boundaries or like codependency? Even if it's
Pisces always has that sort of that potential.
Yeah.
But with the Sun conjunct Saturn, it would almost be more introverted, I think. I mean, codependence is always an issue with Pisces that you'd want to like kind of watch out for, because Pisces is about dissolving boundaries and sort of transcending boundaries. So it can be good because they can be very creative. They can be very empathic. They can read other people really well, but it doesn't always help them. It doesn't help them to function better in society or in relationships, because a lot of people don't like boundaries dissolving.
Yeah.
Most of us are like, hey, stop. That's, like too much or whatever.
Yeah.
And I think this aspect would actually almost counter that, because it is so much more serious and introverted. And you would have, maybe you'd have too much on your plate to really even be codependent or to be a burden to other people, because you are so much in your own problems and in your own work ethic.
So to overcome your people-pleasing tendency, consider spiritual practices or a career in counseling.
Yeah, I mean, this might be actually a really good way to channel that, is to work in a helping profession, or to, I mean, I'm thinking of someone who could channel that seriousness into something that's helpful, like being a tax preparer or an accountant, or something that other people are fearful of and want to avoid.
Yeah.
But when they come to you, they're like, help me with my taxes, help me with my, divorce, whatever. Yeah. And this person could put all of that incredible hard work ethic and discipline and their authority kind of towards doing something that's helpful, but not nurturing.
Oh, okay.
Because Pisces is definitely empathic, but it's not a real nurturing sign.
Oh, okay.
It's emotional, but it's almost like too emotional to really be helpful to others in a one-on-one kind of way. It's more like if they can help the masses, or if they can help the public in a way, or if they can be involved in a profession like palliative care or hospices or veterinary care or something like that, where they're not dealing with an individual person who might be experiencing trauma, and that kind of codependency and emotional baggage could be really not healthy for either person, the Pisces or the person they're trying to help. But if they can put that Piscean empathy and desire to help and desire to make a difference towards something a little bit more detached, a little bit more Saturnian in this case, I think that would be great. Okay. I'm really seeing the tax preparer. Maybe I'm projecting. Anyway,
I'm just gonna ask.
Yeah, let's not go there.
Okay.
Yeah. So anyways, Sue Tompkins, who I like to quote because she's just a really wonderful, accessible writer. And she has this book called Aspects in Astrology. She also has a couple of other really great beginner books that I believe Alison Price has talked a lot about. The Consulting Astrologer's Handbook is another one, but this one that we're quoting from is the Aspects in Astrology. And she says that this is an aspect characterized by self-denial, self-discipline, self-control, and self-defense. The importance of authority, illumination of fears, and the importance of time. Because, of course, Saturn is the planet of time. It's like the timekeeper, this, sort of father time, right? Yeah. And she goes on to say that when Saturn touches any planet in the natal chart, the person tends to crave the things that planet represents. And when it's the sun, this aspect creates a yearning to be considered important because they really believe and fear that they are insignificant. And that those feelings could start in early childhood, where they may feel that they don't have a sense of their own importance or independence. And for some reason, their uniqueness and individuality were not recognized, reinforced, or accepted in childhood. And that's super sad. I mean, I'm painting a really like melancholy picture here.
Yeah.
But in adulthood, often people with this aspect are described as conservative, disciplined, ambitious, solitary, hardworking, and often exhibiting a dark sense of humor.
Oh.
Yeah, there's a silver lining. Yeah, they tend to be very trustworthy, really good mentors, incredibly dependable, and often very successful in the long term. So they can come out of that early childhood difficulty and really accomplish great things. And it might not take until, they're old and gray. They can actually be very serious and hardworking at a very young age, and they can accomplish a lot at a young age because of their determination and introversion, and because they are just so like dedicated and serious.
So with Saturn's lessons or hand-holding, they can achieve success later in life through nurturing a higher purpose, but like that could take many lives.
It depends really on a lot of other aspects, but this is just one aspect in that chart. So this is going to create kind of a serious, it's actually a really good aspect to have if you have other things that are lighter in your chart.
Okay.
Like if you
let's focus on that.
You're not going to have everything in Pisces. You're not going to have everything like conjunct Saturn. Saturn is a really great supportive planet. And if the conjunction is not a hard aspect. It sounds kind of hard, but it's like if you were born into kind of hardship, it's actually a really supportive aspect because it gives you the ability to be strong. I mean, there's nothing that's stronger than like the rock of this, Saturnian kind of imagery, right? And in Pisces, it's going to be a little bit kind of weird and watery, but at the same time, it's a really strong, independent and sort of determined aspect. So it's good. It doesn't sound like a lot of fun to us, but they wouldn't be expecting that,
But without this seriousness, this contemplative nature of a being, we probably wouldn't have as much of this like literary art that is around suffering, around, like melancholy. Like just that word is so beautiful. And I don't know, I'm just imagining like sirens in the water. I don't know.
I found a lot of people who have, not necessarily in Pisces, but just the Sun conjunct Saturn aspect. A lot of people who have created really beautiful long form like works of art, like really long books or like long epic poetry, or they have really long careers in whatever their art is, and they're the kind of people who have been around forever, and you're like, oh wow, like they just have this career that's rock solid,
Yeah, and we're all better for it.
My God, yeah.
It might not be my cup of tea every day, but sometimes it's like, I really want to dive into that.
Absolutely. Yeah. They have this, I would think that this is the kind of character or, personality that you would really want on your side in the zombie apocalypse, or, let's not even go to tax season, but just like zombie apocalypse. You absolutely want this person. This is the survivalist who will have been preparing, know, this is the guy of Last of Us who has all the weapons and has all the food and has his little house. And like, that is Sun Saturn in a nutshell.
Yeah.
Especially in Pisces, because he's a very emotional character too. Shout out to Last of Us. It's an awesome show. If you haven't seen it, watch it. It is amazing.
Must binge now.
Must binge it. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's not all like just austerity. They can actually be obsessed with their own self-importance later in life. And because of that sort of repressed individuality that they may have had in childhood, they can become exhibitionists, which is interesting. I know. They can go from an inferiority complex to like the other extreme and have a grandiose sense of their own importance in adulthood because they have had to carve their personality out of the rough rocks of this sort of austere cliff of childhood.
Wow.
Yeah.
But why is it so opposite? Like it just seems uncomfortable to go from one extreme to the other for this person.
Well, yeah. I mean, the sun is like this radiant personality, you know, that we all have that wants to like, it's this kernel of our ego, right? It wants to shine. It wants to be accepted and for who it is. It wants to be loved unconditionally. Yeah. But any aspects that come near it are going to completely change the color of that expression, of that perfect little radiant golden you know, sun that regardless of what sign it's in wants to just radiate and be itself. But you have Saturn right on top of it. Saturn is this massive planet that's very serious and very about time and about limitations and about structure and about organization and doing it right and not cutting corners and responsibility. And when you have that sitting right on top of the sun, like this person has never known any different, right? Especially with the conjunction. If it's square, that's another story. That's going to be probably a lot more difficult for the person. But for this person, those two planets have been conjunct. They've been acting as one their entire life. So they've never known a life where they could just be frivolous and be carefree and not clean up after themselves immediately because their parents maybe freak out if there's a dish out of place or something. And I'm thinking of a friend of mine in high school right now.
Like, it sounds personal.
The first person I ever knew who had OCD. Very much like this aspect. He was very serious and very grim. And it took him a while to kind of come out of his shell when he first came to school. And he wore a black trench coat and he was very somber. He introduced me to the Pixies, and which I will always like remember him for. But yeah, his dad also had OCD and was an incredibly difficult, tough, disciplinary guy. Like we went to his house one time after school and we were scared of his dad. Like his dad was like just very kind of anal retentive, very buttoned up to the almost like a priest or something. And any bit of noise that we made, we were like terrified. And you know, and we could see how our friend, I mean, it was just plain as day, like how he ended up being that way. But when he came out of his shell, he was one of the most genuine, most affectionate, most helpful, and most empathetic people. Because he was able to be seen. You know, as soon as he had that light of friendship kind of shining on him, and we kind of got through that shell of that depressive, melancholy, black trench coat sort of like helmet, you know, he had this wonderful inner core, which really radiated a wonderful warmth. And I think that is really
sweet
what this aspect is about, especially in Pisces, because there is going to be a lot of care and a lot of helping and a lot of empathy and a lot to give. You know, once you kind of get past that austerity.
So would you say that this person finds confidence through quietly helping others? Or like, is it, because like obviously everyone's going to be so comfortable coming out of their shell when they've got such loving, warm, kind people around them and they feel like they're in a safe environment, as opposed to that dad that doesn't allow a peep out of a child, you know,
or like a smudge on the perfectly, you know, clean stovetop.
How could that person come out of their shell? Because it doesn't sound like that they have OCD, or I mean,
he really did. He had to wash his hands like 30 times a day, and it was rough. He was one of the first people I ever knew who was on medication for OCD. And this is in the 90s, so
this is
like
your friend, not his dad.
This is the friend. His dad.
Think his dad was on medication?
Probably not. I mean, this was the 90s.
Yikes.
I don't know. Anyway,
Do you know where he's up to now?
I don't. But
I hope he's in a happy, bright place.
I hope so too. He was a writer, so he would write these weird, like dark fantasy kind of stories. So that could be an outlet for sure. Anything that you can do that's a solitary pursuit that is going to bring something, you know, out of your sort of seriousness and contribute something.
Yeah, and not to say like seriousness is bad.
I know,
it's just
exactly.
like, like how are you going to use that superpower for
exactly.
Yeah.
And you don't have to be an accountant. You don't have to, you don't have to load up on guns and, stockpile canned goods. You could write amazingly detailed stories that are world building. You could use all of your attention to detail and all of your dedication to solitary pursuits to create a world that other people can dive into and appreciate. Or you could become a really heavy boss of like a company or a country, as we'll see in the celebrity examples.
And there are celebrity examples. Okay.
Oh yeah, this is interesting. This gets interesting. We've got some variety here.
Oh my goodness, cliffhanger. Should we save this for next? No, okay.
Can you imagine? Okay,
no,
bye.
Tell us now.
All right. So celebrities who have the Sun conjunct Saturn in Pisces. So this is what we're talking about. This coming up this month,
February 28th. Yeah.
Yep, exactly. So Justin Bieber.
Oh,
I know. Interesting. Because, think about the childhood and how he would have had to work so hard. He might seem like a sort of frivolous pop whatever with the tattoos and the blah, blah, blah. Yeah. But he had to work his ass off from a very early age to get to where he, whatever we may think of that music.
Yeah.
Zack Snyder.
Okay.
Interesting. And world building. All of that stuff. Dean Stockwell. Wonderful actor. Dakota Fanning. And if you think about her first roles as a child, all of these amazing actors and adults would talk about what it was like to be in a role with her, like Denzel Washington, Meryl Streep. Like the list is massive of actors who worked with her and who universally would say, she's the hardest working actress I've ever worked with. And they would say like, she's an old soul in this tiny little body. Yes. They would all say that. And when you
just read that about her,
right?
Like, she's an old. I was like, what?
And like, watch a movie like Man on Fire with Denzel Washington and her, and it is insane. Like her little face, her little wise old woman in a tiny little body. Like that's Sun Saturn right there, especially in Pisces. Pisces is those big, giant, watery eyes that you just want to fall into.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So great example, Dakota Fanning.
Oh yeah.
Another one with Pisces is Alexander Graham Bell. Talk about dedication to doing something for empathy, because the reason he was so interested in the telephone and all this is because I believe and I'm going to now get this wrong, I should have looked it up. I believe it was his sister and mother, or possibly his mother and wife, who were both were deaf, had lost their hearing. Oh. So his whole thing of like bringing the telephone to life was in part because he wanted to create something that would give hearing to the hearing impaired.
Oh my god!
I know.
Just thinking of all those videos I've seen of people hearing.
Oh, for the first time. Oh my god!
I just got goosebumps.
I know, me too. Thanks.
Oh my goodness!
So if you're feeling cold this February and you want to just have your heart warmed instantaneously, jumper cables to the heart. Watch some videos of people hearing for the first time.
Yeah. Or seeing but hearing for the first time.
Hearing, that one for me. It's because the seeing one is so tied up with just how bizarre it would be, especially if you've never seen anything. It takes so much more adjustment, but it's almost like with hearing it.
But like it doesn't even have to be like any specific age. Like I've seen babies respond to their hearing their mother's voice for the first time to like older people who are like, "What? I just heard something," and it's beautiful.
Totally.
It's so beautiful. Yeah. It's amazing. And how do I get rid of these goosebumps? Anyway.
You can't get rid of it. So our next group of people, these are people who have Sun conjunct Saturn, but not in Pisces. So this is still that austerity, that rock hard facade of hard work, but not in Pisces. So make of that what you will. Robert Duvall, Matt Dillon, Al Pacino. I'm just picturing his face. Like that's just a Sun Saturn face, you know? Sting, Kobe Bryant, Tracy Ullman, Pink, yay, Arnold Schwarzenegger, hardworking, conservative, all that stuff. And I saved the best for last. Vladimir Putin. And mic drop. Yeah.
What?
Right? Okay. I don't know. Yeah.
Okay.
So there's that.
I was not thinking
No.
of him.
Who does?
No one. No.
Yeah.
Zelensky does.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's
Yeah,
not that kind of podcast.
I should have looked at his chart. It could be. We could talk about that.
Oh my gosh. We should look into his chart.
Yeah, big time.
I need to know suddenly.
Oh, right. Well, I think we've got a cliffhanger. We've got a cliffhanger now.
Oh, dang.
Yeah, tune in next time at a date to be determined.
No.
When Katia and I talk about Zelensky and Vladimir Putin's charts, assuming we can find their time of birth, because sometimes politicians are weird about that.
Yeah.
Sometimes there's misinformation.
Yeah.
Let me tell you,
open that can of worms.
Most of the time, it's not because they don't believe in astrology. It's because they're afraid it might be true.
Oh my gosh.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dang.
Or they're afraid that their followers or haters believe in it and they don't want the info out there. Yeah. We'll tell you what we find. You will have to tune in. Have some empathy for the people who have this aspect, and then ask them to help you with something hard.
Because they're really good at it.
They are really good at it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whether they like it or not, they're really good at it.
Yeah. When they help you to put up that incredibly heavy TV, they will bring the level.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And enjoy their writing too.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Or their wonderful music.
Why not?
Exactly. All right. Well, thanks for coming.
Well, thank you for having me. This has been really great. I'm really excited to hear more about everything else.
Yeah, absolutely. Me too. And thanks for listening, everyone. If you have any questions or wish to have us cover a topic in the future, or if you have a celebrity or politician you would like us to delve into their chart, you can reach us at starzology@gmail.com and let us know what you want us to talk about next. And we might just do it. Thanks for joining me.
Thank you.
And we'll see you next time.
See you.
Bye.
Thanks so much for getting this far through the episode. I just want to take a moment to tell you about the two main options of my astrology services. So the first one is coaching. If you are an aspiring astrologer, and by that I mean someone who's perhaps a hobbyist astrologer or someone who's learning astrology or a student, or you've got a few books and you've been doing it for a while, but perhaps you need a little bit of help to bring it all together, then maybe getting some astrological coaching from me would be the answer for you. The astrology coaching I offer is a 1-hour session on Zoom, and it's tailored to answer your particular questions. For example, if you have issues with natal chart readings, we can go there. Or if you're having problems working with your forecasting, we can go there. Or even basic astrology stuff, or even getting yourself organized for your astrology business. The idea is that astrological coaching will answer your particular questions. It's tailored specifically to you and where you are in your astrological journey. And I'm happy to help you out with some guidance about how you can get going, what to focus on, and what to dismiss. So that would be the astrological coaching for people trying to learn astrology. The second astrological service I offer is consultations. So this is for someone who perhaps doesn't know anything about astrology, but they just want to have their chart read or get their chart done. Call it what you will. So once more, this is a 1-hour consultation over Zoom. I will interpret your chart, tell you about the main features, tell you about where the energy is flowing, and all the rest of what is entailed in a thorough natal chart interpretation. I can also add in some forecasting in there too, bearing in mind we only have 1 hour. So just in summary, I've got coaching for people who want to learn astrology, and I've got consultations for those who want to get an astrology reading done. I'm Alison Price from Starzology.com. Thank you so much for listening. We'll see you next time.